Guys, welcome into Talking SEC here on Mark Rogers TV. We got you for the next 119 minutes, so let's get it. All right, guys, welcome in. We're in week 4 already of the college football season. This is Talking SEC. Guys, we got a lot to go over from earlier action this week. I can tell you this Alabama Southern Miss result is not going to have any bearing whatsoever on next week's game for me as far as playing Ole Miss. Same thing for Georgia Vanderbilt. Here's what I'll say about the Georgia Vanderbilt game. Georgia beat Vandy 62-0. That's it. That's all I got. I mean, there is no useful data whatsoever that's going to come out of that ball game. So I'm not going to really spend a whole lot of time really breaking that down because honestly, I mean, the final score being what it was, nothing really to learn from it. But the game of the weekend so far in the SEC, we will spend a lot of time talking about that result there in Arlington, Texas. Very significant. Arkansas winning 20-10. We almost had the shocker of the day in the SEC as Auburn narrowly beats Georgia State 34-14. Bo Nix pulled in that game. TJ Finley comes in, saves the day. Let me say this to every Auburn fan, whether you're watching this live or you're going to see this on replay. If Bo Nix is the starting quarterback next week, and I believe that game is, give me just one moment here. Let me double check that just to make sure I get that Auburn schedule correct here. In Baton Rouge. If Bo Nix is the starting quarterback in that ball game, if I'm a player on the Auburn roster, I refuse to play. I absolutely refuse to play. Because there is no way that you're going to walk into the locker room and tell me after this performance, once again from Bo Nix, that Bo Nix gives us the best chance of winning in Baton Rouge next weekend. You can't sell me that, and there's nothing that I'm going to ever drink to get me to believe that. It is time to turn the page from Bo Nix. Bo Nix has played his last meaningful snap unless TJ Finley gets hurt or it's a blowout. Cannot have it. Boston College beats Missouri in overtime, 41-34. LSU hangs on to beat Mississippi State 28-25. Giving you a live look in, and guys, right before we came on the air, South Carolina just punched it in to cut that lead 10-7. About 11 minutes left to go in the third quarter. Fantastic drive there by South Carolina to get themselves back into this contest. The game of the night in the SEC. Florida, coming off of that game last week against Alabama. And I said coming into this week that this would be the hardest coaching job Dan Mullen would have to do in quite some time in his career. Guys, we're at the half, 17-14. Kara Elam for Florida out with an injury, could be out for multiple weeks. Waiting to get confirmation on that. I'll be checking my phone here throughout the show just to see if there's any updates on that. Tennessee fans, let me say this. Josh Heupel guys, and I want you to go back and watch this series going into the halftime. Tennessee fans, you do not have to worry about competing for an SEC championship as long as Josh Heupel is your head coach after what I saw at the end of the first half. That was absolutely idiotic. You have 2 timeouts, ball at midfield, and you don't call a single timeout. You basically let the clock run out, force the kicker to try a long field goal. He misses, and that's basically what Tennessee is going to be under Josh Heupel. Along with Mike Leach, Josh Heupel may be the worst head coach in the SEC right now. And I know Tennessee fans are going to say, well, this is just Josh Heupel's first year at Tennessee. This ain't Josh Heupel's first year as being a head coach. That was stupid. There's no other way to put it other than that. Billiard Sports Media, how you doing, friend? Hey, Roll Tide. Alabama's doing in this game against Southern Miss what they needed to do. It's 42-7 at the half. If you're just joining the show, that may be the last time I mention that game whatsoever. It is absolutely nothing valuable is going to come out of this game for me as far as what I'm going to expect next week when Alabama takes on Ole Miss. And I expect that to be the game of the week, not only just in the SEC West, but that may be the number one game overall. So, sports media, love to get your thoughts on that look-ahead game in the comment section. I'd love to put them back up because, as we say each and every week, this show is for the fans and love to get everyone's interaction. Guys, Kentucky is already across midfield thanks to a late hit on the quarterback, and they're already driving. Looks like they got the ball at the South Carolina 45, 1st and 10. So let me pull up the stats for that LSU Mississippi State game, because this game, and it looked like, okay, Chris Rodriguez just fumbled but was able to recover that ball, and that would have been absolutely catastrophic for Kentucky in that ball game. Guys, this LSU Mississippi State game, it's basically was to see who would finish in the bottom 3 of the SEC West. And looking at the replay, South Carolina, all they had to do was fall on the ball, and they would have possession right now. So Kentucky maintains the ball, and they're looking to take advantage of another mistake, and now they're inside the red zone. Will Levis on a quarterback keeper takes the ball down inside the red zone. Taking a look at the stats from that LSU Mississippi State game, if anybody tells you that this was a great performance by LSU, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know what the heck they are looking at if they come away with that impression. Here is LSU stats in this ball game. And mind you, LSU won. So wait till I get to how bad Mississippi State stats were in this contest. LSU had 15 first downs in this contest. They were 5 for 13 on 3rd down. 343 yards of total offense. Max Johnson, 17 for 24, 280 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 INT. And one of those touchdowns was absolutely a fluke. There's no way that you call a crossing route where both the wide receiver and tight end are basically running crossing routes with each other and basically end up right in the same spot. This LSU team cannot run the ball to save its life. You think the Alabama run game is bad? LSU is worse. 27 carries for 63 yards. That's 2.3 yards per carry. I want to see how many sacks, if any, Mississippi State had in this ball game. Mississippi State had 2 sacks in the ball game. So let's take a look at these LSU running backs. Tyron Price Davis, 13 carries, 51 yards. Guys, that's embarrassing for a LSU team. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. This is the worst rushing offense I've seen at LSU in decades. And if they don't get this fixed and get it fixed quickly, LSU has no chance of ever competing for anything this season other than being one of the worst teams in the SEC. Bear with me, guys, here. Okay, let me send out the link here because looks like a couple of people are having trouble accessing it. So all right, so Kayshon Boutte is LSU's only offensive threat. He had 4 receptions, 85 yards, and 2 touchdowns. If you take away Kayshon Boutte, this LSU team has no offense whatsoever. Derek Stingley Jr. missed the game today. He was in a boot, seen on the sideline. He is going to be questionable for next week's game against Auburn as well. Will Rogers, guys, let me give you Mississippi State's stats because honestly, I don't. Why does Mike Leach still have a job? I mean, can somebody explain that to me? Why does Mike Leach still have a head coaching job? This man clearly has no intentions on being a winning head coach. So why not let him go back to whatever outpost he wants to be at and make dumb speeches? But Mike Leach is not a head coach. He's a clown show. 29 first downs. So almost a 2-to-1 advantage in first downs. This team was 12 for 18 on third downs. 486 yards of total offense. 47 for 62, 371 yards passing. Guys, Mississippi State had more rushing yards than LSU. Mississippi State under Mike Leach had more rushing yards than LSU. 26 carries, 115 yards. And they lost. If there are any Mississippi State fans watching this right now, the hashtag Fire Mike Leach ought to be all over the Twitter timeline. Because, see, it's all fun and cute when he's racking up 620-something yards last year against LSU and talking about get on board the pirate ship and all of that. I told you, only Bo Pelini would be stupid enough to run that man-to-man defense against Mississippi State. Wow. Okay, Kentucky was not able to punch it in for a touchdown, did get a field goal, so that score now is 13-7. About three and a half minutes left to go in the in the third quarter there. Tennessee's got the ball on their own 32-yard line, trailing 24-14. Guys, Heaton Hooker is absolutely carving up this Florida secondary without Elam, who's out for this game. And like I said, he may be out for a couple of games. 9 for 14, 183 yards, and 2 touchdowns already. But let's turn our attention to the game that has, without a doubt, the most impact in the SEC as of right now. The Arkansas Razorbacks. Hashtag Sam Pittman for Coach of the Year. I don't mean SEC Coach of the Year. National Coach of the Year. Shut it down. Sam Pittman should be the Coach of the Year right now. I thought coming into this season that Arkansas would finish last in the SEC West. I thought that the schedule would be too difficult for them to navigate. Sam Pittman has this Arkansas Razorback team 4-0. And honestly, this team is good enough to beat LSU right now. This team is good enough to beat Texas A&M, which they just did. Arkansas is good enough to finish third in the SEC West right now. Looking at the breakdown of this game. You know what? Let me get it on this screen here so I don't have to keep looking to my left here. Okay, so Texas A&M in this ball game, 15 first downs, could not convert third downs with any success, going 4 for 14, 272 yards of total offense. Zach Calzada, 20 for 36, 151 yards with an interception. This Arkansas defense was absolutely spectacular. Texas A&M, 23 carries, only 121 yards, 5.3 yards per carry. And guys, look, this is something that Sam Pittman is not going to be happy with, and I'll get to that here in just a second. But the penalties for Texas A&M, 11 penalties, 75 yards. That is not winning football whatsoever. Guys, Isaiah Spiller, and you're going to see his numbers and think he had a fantastic game. 12 carries, 95 yards, and a touchdown. Guys, 67 of those yards came on one single carry. 11 carries for less than 30 yards. That's absolutely getting it done. We told you coming into the season that this Texas A&M offensive line was not going to be nearly as good as it was last year. If Texas A&M cannot establish a run game, they have no chance of being able to beat any top-level team in the SEC. And you just saw them get manhandled by Arkansas. Guys, my goodness, what is Ole Miss going to do to this Texas A&M team? I can honestly see Ole Miss beating Texas A&M by 30 points. I really could. I think this may be the most overinflated team in the SEC. As far as this passing attack for Texas A&M, Jalen Watermeyer, who is supposed to be the best tight end, not only in the SEC, but one of the best tight ends in college football, one reception, 18 yards. My goodness. Jimbo Fisher, the quarterback whisperer, huh? Jimbo Fisher's been stealing money since Jameis Winston went to the NFL. Wow. And you guys paid him all of that money. Wow. And Jimbo, you trusted. And now in Jimbo, you about to be busted. Jimbo Fisher's, man, y'all need to stop with this quarterback whisper stuff, because this dude has not ever developed a quarterback. Go back and look at Jimbo Fisher's quarterbacks, and you tell me one that became anything other than Jameis Winston. Go back to his time at Florida State. EJ Manuel, get out of here. Christian Ponder, get out of here. Kellen Mond at Texas A&M, you can't be serious. Wow. Sam Pittman, fantastic job. Let's take a look at that Arkansas team. Terrible job on third down, 3 for 13. That is not going to sit well with Coach Pittman. Big time sack there by Kentucky. Valentine, who will say faked an injury to slow down South Carolina, just came up with a big time sack there. So huge play there by Kentucky in that ball game. That may be enough to swing the tide for Kentucky in this ball game. I will say this: bad punt there by South Carolina. Guys, if Kentucky puts up a touchdown here, this ball game, that's a wrap. Looking at the looking at the Florida Tennessee game. We're about halfway through the third quarter, and Florida still maintains a 24-14 lead. Tennessee does have the ball. Looks like Tennessee's about to punt. They're at the 42-yard line of Florida. Do we have a turnover in this ball game? South Carolina has the ball, but guys, there are flags all over the place. Kentucky just turned the ball over. That penalty is on Kentucky. On just an absolutely bad play call, bad execution. No, it wasn't a bad play call. It was just the a wide receiver reverse and the guy gets stripped. I don't like wide receivers handling the ball that close to the line of scrimmage to begin with. I mean, heck, that's why he plays wide receiver and he doesn't play running back. I mean, get his butt back out there on the perimeter and catch passes instead of trying to be too cute. Big series here for South Carolina. And the SEC's leading returning rusher, Kevin Harris, just picked up 11 yards on a power run play. South Carolina's going tempo, guys. That should have been a false start on South Carolina. Okay, they did call it. That play should have been blown dead because that was false start. So, looking back at this Arkansas performance, excuse me, guys, for the cough here. Arkansas completed 9 passes in the ball game for 246 yards. And the same recipe that they had against Texas, they used it against Texas A&M. 49 rushes, 197 yards. Guys, if you got some light linebackers or small safeties, uh, don't play Arkansas. They will absolutely eat them alive. Will absolutely eat them alive. Now, it's important to note that KJ Jefferson left that game with some kind of leg injury. I'm trying to see if there's any updates on his status for next week, but he wasn't able to finish that game, and that would be very significant if he is unable to go. But dominating performance by Arkansas in this ball game, and just really impressed with the job that Sam Pittman has done up until this point. Okay, Florida has the ball back, and they're already back up towards midfield, uh, basically looking to deliver the knockout punch to Tennessee. We got about 6 minutes left to go in that ball game. South Carolina, Kentucky, we're going to the fourth quarter in that contest. South Carolina does have the ball at the Kentucky 40, second down and 20 as we get ready to start the fourth quarter. Guys, we talked about Bo Nix. Bo Nix is just horrible. I mean, if it wasn't for his last name, he wouldn't even be on this. He wouldn't even be in the starting lineup. I'm sorry. I mean, at some point, nepotism has to stop. And um, credit to Brian Harsin for finally benching Bo Nix, because this is about a year and a half overdue with Bo Nix. Guys, taking a look at the stats, because this game was not the 10-point game as the final score would indicate. Auburn got a pick six at the end of the game by Smoke Monday to basically make this look like a 10-point game. It was not. Auburn is lucky as all you know what to get out of here with a win. Okay, Auburn against Georgia State ran the ball for 267 yards, took 47 attempts to get there. This Auburn rush defense, 35, 35 carries, 166 yards allowed. If Georgia State doesn't fumble that ball, I think Georgia State wins this game and basically puts Brian Harsin in a very bad situation. Okay, so here are the numbers for the quarterbacks for Auburn. Bo Nix, 13 for 27, 156 yards, no touchdowns, no INTs. TJ Finley, 9 for 16, 97 yards, 1 touchdown, no INTs, and got that game winner. Hey, Chris, welcome in, man. I've been talking about your Hogs here, so in case you missed it, I said Sam Pittman is the coach of the year, and I'm not just talking the SEC coach of the year. I'm talking about Sam Pittman for National Coach of the Year. And as far as I'm concerned, you can go ahead and shut it down right now. Beating not only Texas, but Texas A&M. I want to see the Texas A&M boosters step up and really put some money into this program now, because now you have a head coach that is an absolute leader. And if you give him the kind of financial support, upgrades, whatever he needs to maintain this staff, and really I'm talking about Barry Odom. Barry Odom should still be the head coach at Missouri. They wanted to change. Drinkowich comes over from App State. Barry Odom is a much better coach than Eli Drinkowich. I bet it does feel good to own the state. Um, Sam Pittman, and I'll say this: this is what you get when you don't worry about winning the stupid press conference, and you're more concerned with getting the right coach. Sam Pittman is a leader of men, and I absolutely love this guy. Do I think the Hogs make it into the top 10? I tell you what, you know what? Let me pull up the top 10 and I'll give you my honest thoughts on that. Okay, so Alabama, as long as these results hold, will stay at 1. Georgia will stay at 2. Um, that Oklahoma game, let me take a look at that score just to see, because that could absolutely affect where you guys go. Okay, Oklahoma is trailing West Virginia. That game is early in the third quarter. For argument's sake, let's say Oklahoma pulls that out. Right now, Ohio State is at 10. They beat Akron. Let's see. I'm trying to just think, Chris, who could Arkansas, and we're going to go by the AP poll here. So AP, you were 16. Iowa State, didn't Iowa State lose? Okay, so Iowa State lost. You're going to jump ahead of Iowa State. Notre Dame won, so you're not going to jump Notre Dame. Florida's still winning. I think Florida moves into the top 10. Clemson lost, so Clemson is definitely going to take a nosedive in the polls. All right, so Chris, I'm going to give you my thoughts. I don't think Arkansas jumps into the top. Well, wait a minute. You beat Texas A&M. Chris, I'm going to have you just barely outside the top 10. I'm going to have you at 11. But I could easily make a case for you being in the top 10. No question about that. Herschel. So Arkansas. Okay, let me go back and take a look at that. So Arkansas beats the number 17. Number 9 loses. Number 14 loses. You know what, Chris? I take that back. Arkansas is in the top 10. I got you for this week jumping Notre Dame, Florida, Ole Miss, Iowa State, Clemson, Texas A&M. Arkansas is in the top 10. Let's do it. Oh yeah, absolutely, Chris. I think Clemson is going to drop even more so than Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M is going to fall. I'm sorry. I think Clemson is going to fall. Um, man, the way that they've looked, I would drop Clemson outside of the top 20. Absolutely. A 4-0 Arkansas team that has wins over Texas, a top 10 Texas A&M team. Ohio State hasn't looked that great. Yeah. Now, that's where I would put Arkansas. Will the voters jump Arkansas all the way up to 10? We've seen some fluky things with these polls, and they're not quick to react that way. But I think based on the wins, I think Arkansas should definitely be in the top 10. I had to go back and look because I hadn't scrolled all the way up, but I don't see why Arkansas shouldn't be in the top 10 given who's lost and who they beat. Honestly think so. Now that will be an interesting matchup. Is that game next week? Arkansas. Let me get an update on that. Okay, so Arkansas going into Athens next week. Interesting ball game. I will tell you, I I give Arkansas a hell of a chance in that ball game against Georgia because this Georgia offense is their inability to run the ball. And if you're going to be one dimensional against um, Barry Odom, that that is going to be difficult. Now, let me just say this: KJ Jefferson better be healthy in that ball game because if KJ Jefferson is not able to go or is limited in any way, Arkansas is going to get boat raced in that ball game because uh, I don't care who you are, you're not running the ball on this Georgia defense. Um, I don't think there's a team in America that's going to be able to run the ball with a lot of success against Georgia. And you're going to have some kind of passing game to be able to beat that Georgia defense. Okay, so you're saying that game slated for the 11 o'clock. I'm guessing that's the SEC West. I'm sorry, SEC Network game. Jet, great thought there. I don't see them switching that game this early. Okay, Chris, I'm gonna pull that comment up here. Um, okay, so bruised knee. Okay, so as long as there's no ligament damage, um, then he should be good to go. Uh, Florida's absolutely just basically putting bottles of Nyquil in in Tennessee's water. That ball game's 31-14. Guys, if you know any Tennessee fans, send some thoughts and prayers out to them because they may win maybe one more game this year. I mean, this dude, Josh Heupel, is god freaking awful, man. I'm talking about god freaking awful. Tell you what, Jack. Let me see if I can get um, my person here from the SEC and see if we got any breakdown on that. So before I answer that, I'm trying to see if the SEC has released that schedule yet for next week. Okay, don't have official times yet. Okay, so that is um, a good catch there, Chris. That is the 11 o'clock ESPN game between Arkansas and Georgia. Tennessee, Missouri is already the SEC network game. Alabama, Ole Miss, the 2:30 Central Time game on CBS, and the ESPN primetime game will be Auburn LSU. Man, guys, I tell you what, I would love for that to be the 6:30 game on ESPN. Would love to see that Arkansas Georgia game be the 6:30 game on ESPN. Jet offensive line for Tennessee is out of gas. Here's the thing, and guys, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to this podcast, but I broke down what was going to be the issues for Tennessee this year on a podcast. I was asked by some Tennessee fans to really dive into this, and Tennessee lost 30 scholarship players due to the transfer portal. To put that in perspective, when Penn State went through the Jerry Sandusky sanctions by the NCAA, they didn't lose as many players to the transfer portal, and that's before we started calling it the transfer portal, than what Tennessee just lost. Tennessee does not have depth at any position. Josh Heupel is more concerned with running his offensive system than doing what's best for the 2021 University of Tennessee team. And I want to see if I can pull up these stats real quick, because this is just a taste of what Tennessee has in store coming up. So right now, Florida has 29 rushing attempts for 176 yards. Guys, this ain't even the best rushing attack that Tennessee's going to face here over the next 6 weeks. They still got South Carolina, Kentucky, Alabama, Ole Miss, and Georgia. This Tennessee team is going to get beat into a pulp by the end of the season. The quarterback for Tennessee has actually played really well. The Virginia Tech transfer quarterback, Heaton Hooker, 12 for 20, 206 yards, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. But, man, this Tennessee team, guys, as bad as Vandy looked today, Tennessee may be the worst team in the SEC. And by the time they play Vandy, who knows how badly beat up this roster is going to be. And if that's the case, Tennessee will be lucky to win 2 more ball games this season. Matter of fact, let me pull up Tennessee's schedule. Okay, so they play Missouri next week. Okay, they could possibly beat Missouri. They could possibly beat South Carolina. So let's give them those 2 wins. That's 4. University of South Alabama, that's 5. Maybe. Vandy. Okay, if you want to think that Tennessee gets 6 wins, man, you go for it. I can't do it. Hey, Herschel, I don't think Arkansas's defense is underrated whatsoever. I think if people aren't watching what Barry Odom is doing at Arkansas, then they're absolutely crazy, man. Barry Odom is a hell of a defensive coordinator, and he should still be a head coach right now. Don't be surprised. There's going to be some job openings this year. Barry Odom's name is going to get mentioned. A&M absolutely got absolutely run on. And here's the biggest thing: when KJ Jefferson hit that huge play to Burke early on in the ball game, I literally said this ball game was over. I honestly thought this ball game was over. Okay, are you talking about the you talking about the Tennessee quarterback missing a few open wide receivers? If so, then yeah, I think this ball game would be a little bit closer. But I don't think Tennessee just has the roster to be able to compete with anybody outside of Vanderbilt in the SEC right now. How long does Mike Leach survive at Mississippi State? Excellent question there, Jet, and I'm gonna answer that for you. Here's I said this when Mike Leach first got hired at Mississippi State. I gave him 3 years because this guy is an absolute failure as a head coach. He couldn't win at Washington State, an outpost in a conference that nobody cares about. He's now in a state where Lane Kiffin is absolutely tearing things up and is going to make Alabama's life miserable next weekend. We'll get to that next week. But I think Mike Leach has this year and next year before he does Geico commercials or something. I mean, I think that dude is absolutely horrible, man. Hogs are 3-0 versus Texas team. Man, let me tell you. So I was talking about this, Herschel, on a couple of different shows that I've been on this entire week. And I said this result is going to carry a lot of echoes there in the Dallas Metroplex, because that's where a lot of significant boosters for Oklahoma, for Texas A&M, for Arkansas, that's where they are. And if you thought they were hog wild beating Texas, to now absolutely punish Texas A&M on national TV with one of their most famous alums, Jerry Jones, in the stands watching, it's time for Jerry Jones to start stroking some checks and making Arkansas a really, really interesting program. Hard to be that humble. Man, hey, guys, keep the comments coming because I absolutely love them, man. This is why we do this show. Wanted Odom to get a look by Mullen. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Third and Grantham. Oh wow. Yeah. So Barry Odom is going to be a head coach. Chris, I think now Barry Odom, I think just got a raise. I think Arkansas is going to have to step up and give him one of those Van Gorder raises. And Kentucky just kicked a field goal here to push that lead to 16-7. Guys, we got 4.5 minutes left to go in that contest. Let's get ready to reset here in 10 minutes at the top of the hour. But that was a big-time field goal to make this now a 2-score ball game for Kentucky, as Kentucky looks to go 4-0 as well, and go 2-0 in SEC play. Okay, Jet. Yeah. So thanks for jumping back in and answering that. Chris, you know what? I will say this. I think Barry Odom knows his next head coaching opportunity will be his last. So could you see a Kirby Smart type thing when Kirby was at Alabama? Instead of taking the first job, he takes the right job. Kirby turned down jobs while he was the defensive coordinator at Alabama, and he waited on the right job. You would like, as an Arkansas fan, for him to wait on the right job. Guys, I'm gonna throw a job out there for Barry Odom if he wants it and thinks he could win. Barry Odom would be a huge upgrade over Scott Frost at Nebraska. So does Barry Odom wait for that opportunity? Does he wait for man, I tell you another job that I would love to see Barry Odom at, but I don't think this team is going to put in the resources to do so. Barry Odom at a Georgia Tech, I think, could be awesome. Um, I don't think Barry Odom is the fit for USC as far as the press conference goes, but I think Barry Odom at USC would absolutely be a freaking home run because one, he would go hire a offensive coordinator to run the rock, and that's what USC should be doing. Jet, you can't see Leach lasting past 3 years unless Mississippi State is flat broke. I agree with you, and that's why I said that um, I think Leach will have this year, and he'll get next year, and that would be his third year at Mississippi State. I don't see him getting past year three whatsoever. Mississippi State will absolutely buy out that contract. Hey, Jet, give me a second. Let me pull up that name because that name does not ring any bells with me. So give me a second while I pull him up just to see if there's something that may pop with me on him because that's not a name that I remember at all. Okay, out of Miami High School. Okay, Manuel. Okay, he's the safeties coach for the New York Jets right now. Mm, all right, so hey, Jet, looking over Marquand Manuel's resume as a coach. Okay, so in 2012, he was hired as an assistant special team coach with the Seattle Seahawks. Moved his way up to an assistant secondaries coach. Moved over in 2015 to the Falcons. Um, had a cup of coffee as the defensive coordinator. I'll be honest with you. Um, I would want to see him with some more experience before I hired him as a defensive coordinator um, in college because here's what you're going to run to it, and especially if he goes to the University of Florida, which I'm thinking. Okay, looking at your comments, he's a name that you hope will pop up as the Florida defensive coordinator. Here's the thing: he has no defensive coordinator experience. LSU is trying that same experiment. with the guy that they got from the Minnesota Vikings. Um, no head coaching. And when I say no coaching experience, he hasn't been a defensive play caller. And coming into the SEC, where you're going to face um, tempo offenses, I would like a defensive coordinator that at least has some experience doing that. Now, if Florida wanted to get ahead of the curve, you bring him in and have him coach the linebackers while learning how to call the defense under Grantham for one more year. Hey, Jed, I'll get to your second question here in just a second. Let me pop Chris's up here. Absolutely. And here's what I'll say about that. And I don't think that Barry Odom is going to be in a rush to get that head coaching job. I think he's going to wait on the right opportunity. So Arkansas could have him for another year or two because I don't think he's just going to take whatever job comes open. I think he's looking for an opportunity to where he can win and be given all the tools that he needs to be successful. You talked about the great relationship he has with Coach Pittman. I think Coach Pittman is going to absolutely politic for Barry Odom to get a significant pay raise, making him maybe one of the top 3 to 5 paid defensive coordinators in the SEC. I think that would go a long way in keeping Barry Odom to where he doesn't have to take that job. So, Chris, you could definitely be on to something with Barry Odom sticking around for at least another season, if not 2. Is there a dramatic difference between the NFL and college football as a coordinator? Absolutely. Um, the college game is much more fast paced. In an average college football game, you could be on the field for 75, 80, 85 snaps in a ball game. In the NFL, just to kind of pull it up here, I'm just going to pick out a game from last week. Matter of fact, I'll take a look at the Carolina Texan game from this past weekend. The Houston Texans in that game versus the Carolina Panthers on Thursday night ran 49 plays. There's some teams in college football that'll run 49 plays in the first half. So it is a huge deal where you have to be able to get defensive plays called very quickly because you're going to have in between snaps 8 to 14 seconds to get your substitutions in, to get your play calls, to understand what that opponent is trying to do against you. So much more fast paced. And now the difference with the NFL, the talent gap from the best team in the league, whether that's Tampa or the Kansas City Chiefs, and the worst team in the NFL, that talent gap is between 8 and 10 points. In college football, the talent gap from the best team in college football, if you want to say that's Alabama, you want to say that's Georgia right now, won't argue it either way, versus the worst team in the SEC, which is Vanderbilt, that difference is about 30 points. NFL players can hide deficiencies in a coordinator. Also, every player on the field Good point there. I'll say this though. Having that experience of calling defenses would help you from the transition of college, from the NFL to college. I don't know if Manuel, having none of that experience as a position coach, is going to be able to come in and help out the Florida Gators right now. Absolutely, Chris. So we're seeing that at LSU right now. LSU is not a good team, and they're getting exposed like crazy. Wait till LSU has to face a high-powered offense. I don't think LSU is coached good enough to where they're going to be able to stop a high-powered offense like an Ole Miss. I mean, for goodness sakes, the Mississippi State Bulldogs had more rushing yards than LSU. Mike Leach doesn't want to run the ball at all and had over 100 yards rushing in this ball game. So this is the lack of experience calling a defense that could come back to bite a Florida if they were to go down this path. Hey guys, we're at 9:03. I got you for the next 57 minutes. Give me just a moment to do a quick reset here, and I'll be okay, guys. Thanks. Welcome back into Talking SEC. Jet, let me put your comment up. You thought this was going to be a redemption year for LSU. Hey, Jet, jump back in here real quick because I want to talk about this LSU team. This team has no leadership. Ed Orgeron is absolutely coaching for his job. And to be honest with you, LSU could do a hell of a lot better than Ed Orgeron as the head coach. This team has no football character whatsoever. There's not a leader on that LSU defense that I would stand behind and say, you know what, I'm going to go to war with that dude. Big first down there by Kentucky as they look to now basically do a couple of kneel downs and get out of here with a 16-10 win over South Carolina. And unless something really crazy happens, Kentucky's going to go to 4-0, 2-0 in the SEC. LSU has one player on this roster that has absolutely been performing, and that's Kayshon Boutte, and he's a wide receiver. There is not a player on this LSU defense, and I know some of the names that are on that LSU defense. There's not a name on that LSU defense that I would have any confidence in being the leader of my program. So you don't have the on-the-field leadership. You don't have the leadership at the head coaching position. And you got a bunch of fluke wins last year, especially that Ole Miss game. Ole Miss turned the ball over in that contest, I believe, 6 times, and LSU won by, um, I think it was 5 points in that ball game. I think the score was like 53-48. They got boat raced by Alabama at home. This team is a train wreck, and we just happen to have the privilege of watching it the rest of this season. I mean, this team is a mess. Guys, we got about 8 minutes left to go in that Florida Tennessee game. Florida's still up 31-14. If anybody's interested in the score, Alabama's up 49-7. End of the third quarter. That's pretty much it. Alabama's season comes down to one game and that's next week. If Alabama wants to play for a SEC championship and a national championship, they got to go beat Ole Miss. And I know that game's in Bryant-Denny. I'm looking at the look ahead lines now to see if those are up. But my goodness, I would not trust what I've seen from Alabama in that ball game. Alabama's going to have to play a heck of a lot better than what they've done. You thought that this Florida Tennessee game would be a letdown? I would say it has been a letdown. I mean, yeah, Florida's up 17 points, but this is versus a Tennessee team that shouldn't even be on the field. LSU lost their starting tackle, Darrell Rosenthal. He transferred to Kentucky and is the starting left tackle for Kentucky. Cameron Ware went down with I think an ankle injury, so that really hurt them in this ball game. Do I see Charlie Strong getting? You know what, Chris? Let me put that back up there. Okay, thought LSU had a better O line. No, this LSU line couldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight. They can't run block to save their lives, and this is something that I didn't think I would be able to say about an LSU program. I don't care who the head coach was. This team can't run the ball, and whether John Emery comes back this season and plays or not, right now he's still ineligible to play. Even if he comes back and plays, this LSU line can't reset the offense, can't reset the line of scrimmage. LSU can't run the ball on anybody. I don't think they could run it on what is it, Bishop Sycamore or whatever that team, fake team was that played the high school game against IMG. I don't think LSU could run it on them. So LSU's a disaster of a program right now, and they need to start looking for their new head coach tonight. Do I see Charlie Strong getting another head coaching job in college? No. I at this juncture, Jet, I honestly don't. I tell you what, though, he would be better than that clown show that's at Florida State right now. Mike Norvell, and I know this is an SEC show, but Mike Norvell couldn't coach Girl Scouts how to sell cookies right now. Man, that dude is horrible. Him and Mike Leach ought to open up a clinic together, saying this is how you don't become a head coach. That ball game now in Columbia, South Carolina, has just gone final. Kentucky 4-0, and I believe Kentucky has a big game coming up next week. Kentucky will be hosting the University of Florida next week. Be on the lookout for Kyra Elam's injury report. If Elam is injured in that ball game or is not able to go in that ball game, I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Hey, Chris, Sam Pittman is your O-line coach. I know who may be the person in name as the O-line coach. Sam Pittman is coaching that offensive line. And Sam Pittman will make darn sure that the University of Arkansas can run the ball, because that is what this man has known for 30 years as a position coach in the game of football. Sam Pittman is one hell of a man, a fantastic coach, and the University of Arkansas is absolutely fortunate that they weren't concerned about trying to win the press conference and now have this man as their head coach. So fantastic job by Arkansas. Absolutely beating up Texas A&M. And it's going to be interesting to see if Texas A&M is able to bounce back from this ball game, because they've been talking about just beating Alabama. Well, now you're behind the 8 ball in beating anybody of note. And you know what? That's a good thing, because Sam Pittman will make sure that these guys understand just the very simplistic role of what they need to do. And it is get a hat on their opponent and then work their way up to the second level. Like I said, guys, Sam Pittman should be the national coach of the year. This dude is absolutely just getting it done right now. I'm just taking a look at a couple of other scores around the league, because guys, we could have some developments going on here really soon. And we talked about Arkansas working their way up into the top 10. Guys, I'm gonna give you some national scores real quick, because this could definitely impact how high both Arkansas and I think we're going to see Kentucky finally in the top 25 this week, because North Carolina is losing to Georgia Tech. I think that's going to be very significant to get Kentucky ranked. I think Wisconsin falls out of the polls, so that's going to help Kentucky. Guys, we got about 12 minutes left to go. West Virginia is leading Oklahoma 13-10. If this score holds, we're now talking about Arkansas as a solid top 10 team next week. And I think when that poll comes out, I think they should be in the top 10 anyway. I think this result absolutely would guarantee it. Just looking at some of the highlights from the Alabama South Florida game. Guys, like I said, there is nothing I'm going to take away from this contest. Alabama has a lot of work to do to get ready for Ole Miss next week. Okay, Chris, Cody Kennedy, looking to see him develop under Coach Sam Pittman. I think for him, I think it would be a very smart business decision if he stayed as close to Sam Pittman for 3-4 years, as long as Coach Pittman is still making progress in the program. If I'm Cody Kennedy, I would stay next to Sam Pittman and I would pick this guy's brain about how to run a program, how to recruit at a school to where you're not going to get all of the 5 stars that you're going to get, and develop a program. I think that would be a very good decision. Guys, for some reason, Florida's trying to put in another touchdown on Tennessee, and they just did. This is just rubbing salt into the eyes of Tennessee. This used to be a big-time rivalry, and Malik Davis just goes in for a 9-yard touchdown to make that score 37-14 point after pending. I believe this about the University of Florida. And let me pull up Emory Jones's numbers here, because that game against Kentucky next week, guys, on our show, the Crunch Time Sports Advantage Network, we are going to spend several podcasts breaking down this Ole Miss Alabama game. We're going to break down this Arkansas Georgia game for sure. But guys, Kentucky, Florida, we are going to break down that game quite a bit. Emory Jones, 21 for 27, 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. Guys, I'm going to have to go back and break down this game to see how Emory did as a passer. But 7.7 yards per attempt does not get me that excited. I'm just looking at the wide receiver numbers here. Man, that's going to be a fantastic ball game. So, guys, if you're looking for some really good breakdowns on that ball game or any of the featured SEC ball games, head over on Twitter. Give us a follow here at the Crunch Time VIP. We are going to do a tremendous job breaking down this ball game. My team, Summer, she gives all of the updates as far as any weather, anything, if there's any significant injuries in that ball game. She's going to give great updates on that. Billy's going to give the handicapping line where that game opened tomorrow. And then at the time we're going to be recording that Wednesday night or Thursday morning, we'll give you that latest line as well. And I'm going to give you the best game breakdown you're going to find anywhere in college football. That's why we are the Crunch Time Sports Advantage Network. And guys, we are looking forward to breaking down all of these contests coming up this week number 5 in the SEC. And now Tennessee's trying to get back in the ball game and score here. So, guys, I got you for another 38 minutes. Please, if you got any questions, drop them in the comment section. I would love to either answer them or put them up on the screen, because once again, you are the reason why we do all of these shows here on Mark Rogers TV throughout the entire platform. We love the engagement from you, the fans, and hopefully you guys will continue watching all of the shows on the channel, but especially Talking SEC, the wrap up show here every Saturday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Central Time. Tennessee just with a big play, trying to put in a meaningless touchdown here. That Alabama game is now in the fourth quarter. Alabama just needs to run out the clock and get out of this contest without any significant injuries and get ready for the huge showdown against Ole Miss coming up on CBS at 2:30 on next Saturday. So going to be a fantastic game. I know I'm going to be doing a lot of spots this week, giving my thoughts on that breakdown, and I think it's just going to be one heck of a game. Hooker just overthrew a wide receiver for Tennessee because Josh Heupel was trying to put up a meaningless touchdown to make this game look a little bit closer than a 24-point deficit. I would be more concerned about the health of my roster instead of worrying about trying to score a meaningless touchdown here with 25 seconds left to go in this ball game. But that's why Josh Heupel is Josh Heupel. Guys, I think Josh Heupel, along with Mike Leach, are the two worst head coaches in the SEC. Just horrible game managers. All right, so let's see if there's anything that man, you talk about three teams that were overrated coming into this season: Texas A&M, LSU, and North Carolina. Wow. And you can't be that bad as a head coach. Wow. All right, so that game has now gone final. Florida 38, Tennessee 14. Guys, I'm gonna be spending a lot of time with my guys that cover the University of Florida, and I'm gonna see if I can definitely get them on the podcast for this week. All right. So, guys, let's recap the action here in the SEC because we did see some big time performances in the conference. We saw a couple of blowouts. One that's about to wrap up here, and one that wrapped up even before it kicked off. And guys, Georgia beat Vanderbilt 62 nothing. And quite honestly, if Georgia wanted to score 100 points in that ball game, they could have. Outmatched, outclassed, and just really, thank goodness they took their feet off the gas because this game got out of hand, and it got out of hand early. 35 nothing at the end of the first quarter. Taking a look at other action from earlier in the SEC. Missouri, just a horrible performance against Boston College. Credit Boston College in that game, winning in overtime 41-34. Eli Drinkowitz. Man, this is why you fired Barry Odom. Wow. LSU holds on to beat Mississippi State 28-25. Mike Leach shows once again why Mike Leach should not be a head coach at any level. Auburn finally yanks Bo Nix. TJ Finley comes in to save the day. Auburn 34, Georgia State 24. That game was not a 10-point game. Auburn was trailing with 2 minutes left to go in that ball game. A last minute touchdown and a pick six is the only reason why that score looks the way it looks. Texas A&M in the biggest game in the SEC this weekend, beating Texas A&M in Arlington 20-10. We'll have to see. And thanks for Chris, who's been in the chat all night. Chris, thank you so much. Looks like KJ Jefferson, the quarterback for Arkansas, suffered a bone bruise, was held out for precautionary reasons, if I'm understanding that right, Chris. So hopefully he will be a full go next week as the Razorbacks, who should be in the top 10, will travel to Athens to take on the number 2 ranked team in the country, the Georgia Bulldogs. In a score that just went final, Kentucky 16, South Carolina 10. Florida 38, Tennessee 14. 15 out of the last 16 times these two teams have played, Florida has come away with a win. Guys, it ain't a rivalry if you're getting your head beat in every year. And the only other exit game left to go, with about 8 minutes left to go, Alabama's up 56-14 over Southern Miss. And we know what Alabama has on deck next week. It is basically their entire season. If Alabama wants to play for a national championship, then they absolutely must beat the Ole Miss Rebels in Tuscaloosa next week. All right, so just getting a couple of confirmations on a couple of things. Elam was held out due to a lower leg injury, from what I'm being told. It is going to be extremely questionable if he's going to be able to go next week as the Florida Gators travel to Lexington to take on the Kentucky Wildcats. I'm trying to see if my buddy from the Athletic has any more updates on Jefferson or Elam, because that is going to be some very significant news going into this weekend's games. So give me just a second. Let me see if he has sent me over any kind of messages here. Okay, so nothing on Elam availability as of yet. I'm trying to see if I got anything other from my Arkansas people as well. So, guys, that's the benefit of being able to do these shows. live because you can hopefully get some news that may um, be very significant for the upcoming week. Okay, so just checking with one of my sources there at the Associated Press. Um, Arkansas fans, based on some straw polling that's been done, Arkansas will definitely be in the top 10 when that AP poll comes out sometime tomorrow afternoon. And speaking of tomorrow afternoon, join us on our channel, Crunch Time, as we're going to be doing a call-in show breaking down all the key action, and we are getting ready to post that here in just a moment. I think we're going to do that from. Looks like we're going to go live at 6:30 p.m. tomorrow. Um, Bear with me. Just want to go ahead and update that so we can post that here and definitely let you guys know. So tomorrow night, our top 20 poll will be released. It'll be our first poll of the season. Uh, we did a preseason poll, but was not going to do another in schedule poll until after we completed 4 weeks of the season. We at the end of tonight's ball games, we'll have those 4 weeks in, and we're going to release that poll. Expect to see several SEC teams in that top 20 poll. Um, we have not started running the numbers as of yet. Want to see here. Okay. We'll actually start running those numbers here as soon as we wrap up. So be on the lookout for that show tomorrow as we'll start to break down how we're starting to see these teams develop here in the 2021 season. Remember that you can join Mark each week along with some very respected guests as they do the weekly picks. You can join Mark on Patreon at joinmarkrogerstv.com. Also, be sure to check out. I know most of you guys are already following Mark on Twitter at Mark Rogers TV. You can also follow Mark at the and the channel at the new Twitter handle at Voice of CFB. You can also follow me and my team on Twitter at Crunchtime VIP. Also, you can also contribute to the show using Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal. Just search Mark Rogers TV. Always appreciate any contributions that you guys do to the show. And I'll leave that back up there in case somebody missed it. Okay, guys, I'm just looking for any uh, late breaking injury reports here. Okay, here's one of my contacts, guys. I'm just looking over what he posted about Sam Pittman. Okay, and he's actually in my earpiece now. So, wow. Okay, and it's okay if I go with that. All right. Thank you. Guys, in true Nebraska fashion, they just threw an interception in overtime. Um, it looks like Michigan State's going to get out of there with a win over Nebraska. Just absolutely loving that. I was just looking at that. I'm actually trying to get an updated result on that ball game. Oh, they're going to block that. Okay, so with all the SEC games in the books, Oklahoma is tied now with West Virginia, 13-13. Um, man, North Carolina's just getting boat raced. You're going to see. I think Auburn's going to hang on in the top 25. Yeah, Jet, you're right. We're about a little less than 4 minutes left to go in that Oklahoma West Virginia game. Um, Oklahoma has the ball on their 8-yard line, so I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on that. Okay, so looking at the SEC teams right now, Alabama's not going to move. Georgia's not going to move. Arkansas moves up into the top 10. I think Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M drops. Honestly, guys, I would love to see Texas A&M swap places with Arkansas. I would like to see Texas A&M be ranked about 16 and Arkansas to be ranked in the top 7. Uh, Florida was Florida will still be a top 12 team. I think they're gonna. I think here's what we're gonna see, guys. I think we're gonna see 4 teams in the AP poll that comes out tomorrow be ranked in the top 10. Alabama 1. I think Georgia will be 2. I think Arkansas will jump Florida, and I think Florida will jump Clemson to move up in the top 10. So I think 4 teams out of the SEC will be in the top 10. I think Kentucky will be along with Auburn, as the other 2 teams ranked by the SEC. I mean, ranked in the top 25, I should say. So we're looking at, what is that? 4, 5, 6, 6 of the 14 teams of the SEC be ranked in the top 10. Which just goes to show you that this conference is absolutely deep. And with Kentucky, um, I don't see how they keep Kentucky out of the top 25. I honestly don't. I mean, this team, I get it looking at who they beat, but this team's 4-0, and they got 2 wins in conference. That's a heck of a lot better than some other teams are doing right now. Mm. All right, so hey, yeah, I'm gonna put you up here, and Michigan State just beat Nebraska, so excellent job by Michigan State there. Wow. Okay, so uh, like I said, guys, I see 6 teams in the SEC ranked. Wait a minute, hold it. Did I leave somebody out, or is that 7? One. Okay, 7 teams. 7 teams out of the SEC will be ranked. I left out Texas A&M, so I got 4 teams out of the SEC in the top 10. Alabama, Georgia, Arkansas, Florida, all should be in the top 10. Texas A&M will be in the top 15. Um, that's 5. Auburn will um, Auburn should probably stay at 23, and I want to see Texas. I'm sorry, I want to see Kentucky ranked um, above Auburn. So I think Kentucky has an excellent chance of being ranked in the top 20 in this week's coming poll, especially given some of the things that we're seeing around the country. So Georgia Tech is going to knock North Carolina out of the top 25. Trying to see who else is going to get knocked out. All right, guys, give me just a second. I'll pull up the top 25 here just to see if anybody else is going to get knocked out. Okay, so Kansas State is going to get knocked out. I think Oklahoma would jump in, so that's a wash. Wisconsin's got to fall out of the top 25. I mean, 1 and 3. Iowa State should be out of the top 25. So I think this is going to be excellent for the SEC. Talking about having 7 of its 14 teams ranked. I think that's going to be a tremendous job there. Hey, Jeff, are you talking about tonight? Wow. If that happened tonight, man, I got to see that. I got to see that later on tonight when we start looking at some recaps here because Ohio State, kind of like LSU, they got some internal issues that are not really good. And to quote one of my famous mentors, oh wow, so that was tonight. Thanks, Jet. Ryan SGF jumps in here. Went on a Twitter tirade. Whoa. Okay, so guys, to quote one of my former mentors, Bill Parcells, winning is the perfect deodorant. And as long as you're winning, LSU a couple of years ago when they won the national championship, Joe Burrow, Joe Brady, Dave Aranda, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Clyde Edward-Helaire. There's a lot of names that you're going to go through before you say the name Ed Orgeron. Ohio State is suffering from that same thing. It's a lot of deodorant that's been masking a lot of issues that's been in those programs. And when you're not winning, you hear about these kind of things coming out. I'm going to see if I can find that on Twitter. So, what is his name? Pope? Let me see if I can get that kid's first name because this could be the start of the end for Ryan Day up there in Columbus. I'm just trying to see if I can find that quote, guys, because that might be all right. Let's see if I can, because I think I know who that is. Okay, I'm not even seeing him on the roster. So I'll have to pull that up, and I promise you, once I see it, I will gladly post a comment on that because you can't have that. You just cannot have that in your program. I was trying to see if okay, so they don't have the video clip of it just yet. Thank you, Jet. I'm finna look up that comment right now. Ron Day was always a band-aid. Uh yes. And as long as he was winning, Kayvon Pope. Okay. Thanks, guys. I'm finna see if I can pull that comment up. You guys are fantastic, man. Um, because I gotta see this. I wonder if they took it down. Oh my goodness. Okay. Wow. Good luck to my teammates. Wow. Guys, I know some people up there, and like I said, okay. So the final SEC score of the night: Alabama 63, um, Southern Miss 14. Like I said, nothing of relevant. Okay, so I'm not gonna put that up, even though you know what, you blocked that out, so I can put that up. He said, "Woo, okay, all right." That's what I was looking for because I knew when you guys said that he threw a tantrum, I knew he had to drop some kind of four-letter word that we weren't going to be able to post on here. So, hey, Ron, thank you for not only cleaning that up but having that. You better believe somebody took a screenshot of that, and um, this young man's future at Ohio State is in serious jeopardy. I will say that. Um, that is disappointing. Um, I don't know what would have led to that comment, but wow. There's some people in Columbus that I will be on the phone with tomorrow morning, and we'll be talking about that quite a bit. Okay, Jet, I'm not going to post that, but I see you. Okay, I see you. Um, Oklahoma um, is on the West Virginia 17-yard line with about 55 seconds left. Um, unless they miss this field goal, this ball game should be over, and Oklahoma survives. Guys, it has been a crazy day in the SEC. We almost had Auburn losing to Georgia State. Um, we had some blowouts in the SEC with Alabama Southern Miss, which that was to be expected. Um, here's what I do want to see from this Alabama team. Did they try to run the ball this ball game? 30, 33 carries. Okay. I'll have to go back and look at the game, but Andy Williams out. Wait, what? Two two kick returns for touchdowns? Wow. Jameson Williams, special team player of the week, and it ain't even a question mark. Not one, but two kickoff returns for touchdowns. Dude, that is getting it done, man. Um, like I said, I wasn't gonna be overly excited about any stats that Alabama put up in this ball game. Just want to see was there going to be a commitment to run the ball. It looks like they tried to run the ball, and that's going to be key for Alabama next week against Ole Miss. You're going to have to shorten the game against Ole Miss because this Ole Miss offense is good enough to put up 45 points on any college football team in America. Um, Alabama would definitely have their hands cut out next week. And guys, I'll tell you what. Normally, I give a recap of. Hey, Ron, are you a Missouri fan? Love to get you jump back in here. Okay, so based on this, Missouri, the defense, um, not just the defensive line, the defensive front seven. I said losing Nick Bolton was going to be absolutely traumatic for this year's team because you don't replace that kind of leadership at Missouri um, from what you lost with Nick Bolton. Got to be honest, Tyler Beatty has done a much better job at the running back position, replacing Larry Roundtree III than I thought he would be. Um, but I was not confident in whoever was going to take over for Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton was one of the best inside linebackers in the SEC last year, and I think that's really hurting. Um, that's really hurting Missouri right now. So this year is going to be a major step back for the Missouri Tigers. You got to start stacking some talent. But Ryan, man, definitely glad to have you and all of everybody that's watching and dropping comments in the chat. Really looking forward to. So, guys, we got another 5 minutes before we wrap up here. So, instead of a look back at all the action in the SEC, want to set you up for next week. And like I said, guys, be sure to head over to Twitter. Give me and my team a follow at Crunch Time VIP. We're going to be doing podcasts on several key SEC ball games next week, and I'm gonna give you the rundown, and I can probably tell you which games we're going to be doing a quick podcast on each one of these ball games next week. So Mississippi State, Texas A&M, don't have a official time for that contest as of yet. Oh, thank you, Ryan. Really appreciate you, my friend. Um, Florida, Kentucky. That is a game that we will absolutely be breaking down next week. Kyra Elam, one of the best cornerbacks in all of college football, will be questionable for that contest. Um, so that's one contest we're going to be breaking down. We already have time slots for the Arkansas Georgia game. ESPN, 11 o'clock a.m. Central Time. That game would definitely be one of our featured contests. Also, in that 11 o'clock window on the SEC network, Tennessee will be taking on Missouri. Ron, I will say this about your Missouri Tigers in that ball game. That game is at home. Tennessee's coming off a butt whooping in Gainesville. Want to see where they are from a mental standpoint. Guys, the game of the week in college football. Number 1, Alabama. Right now, number 13, Ole Miss. And guys, I forgot to include Ole Miss. So, um, guys, we could see potentially 5 SEC teams in the top 10 next week because Ole Miss had a bye, so I didn't even include them. So, um, I'll go back through that here in just a moment. South Carolina taking on Troy. Don't sleep on Troy going to Columbia, South Carolina next week. Vanderbilt is taking on the worst team in all of college football, the UConn Huskies. Um, that game is at 6:30 Central Time on ESPNU. Jump back real quick. 2:30 Central Time, Troy taking on South Carolina. That game will be on the SEC Network. The primetime game, and guys, this one is going to have a lot of juice to it. Auburn traveling to Death Valley to take on LSU. We'll be doing that ball game on the podcast as well. So, guys, we'll be dropping those links. Head over to Crunch Time Sports Advantage Network. You can find links to all of our podcasts. We'll also post links for those as soon as those are ready. Those will start to come out on Friday we're looking at at least 4 SEC games right now. We'll consider the Missouri-Tennessee game just to see where that falls. I think that Auburn will stay in the top 25 for this reason because they were at 23. It's because North Carolina is getting boat raced by Georgia Tech here. Give me just a second. I'll pull back up that scoreboard up the top 20 here. And okay, so looking at the top 20 guys real quick, with less than a minute left to go, Georgia Tech is beating number 21 North Carolina 45-22. They're going to fall out of the poll. I believe Wisconsin should fall out of the poll at number 18, losing 41-13 to Notre Dame. Iowa State should not be in the top 25 after losing to Baylor, but I do believe Baylor may crawl into the top 25. I think Oklahoma will jump into the top 25 as they will leapfrog Kansas State and Fresno State on Friday night held on to beat UNLV. So I think Auburn will stay in the top 25, Ryan, and we're going to have from just my thinking here as we get ready to wrap up, guys. And once again, thank you. 5 teams in the SEC should be in the top 10. Alabama, Georgia, Arkansas, Ole Miss, and I think Florida sneaks their way into the top 10. Guys, this has been Kenneth from the Crunch Time Sports Advantage Network. Thank you once again for tuning in, watching the show tonight. Really appreciate it. Ryan, Jet, Chris, everybody else that has tuned in, Mr. Razorback. Thank you guys so much. Herschel. Have a great night, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your college football weekend. And as always, all aboard.